Close your eyes and imagine this planet where each border is a wall of silence. Nations are locked up inside their own cages, and citizens live in a hermit kingdom, cut off from one another. Trade stops, jobs vanish, supply chains are severed, families become torn apart. I could go on forever, but I would only stop when I mention our greatest loss as a humanity. Our cross cultural exchange that once made us connect through our differences and mutually share our values, storytelling, and empathy would now leave us as strangers from one planet to another. Okay, now everything I've said may sound superficial, but the reality is that human connection thrives when cultures meet, exchange ideas, and learn from one another with an open mind. This is the very glue that holds our world together, and travel and study abroad are the adhesive agents to this glue. Too often, we grow up with our own perception of how the world should appear and operate, but we only realize how flawed our perspective is when we travel and study abroad. By forcing us out of our comfort zone and exploring how different economic structures, political systems, and societal values are run on, only then do we gain a nuanced perspective of the world in a way that textbooks and news articles cannot. In fact, this was exemplified during my 1 week BU study abroad to Cuba, where I had the opportunity to explore Afro-Cuban culture, cuisine, and history, just to name a few, in Havana with my professor Michael Quintero. Now, prior to departure, I remember my friends warning me of Cuba's totalitarian communist government and criminal gangs posing a threat to American tourists. I was like, what? I was painted a picture of a vicious, chaotic society where crime, poverty, and corruption ran rampant in the streets of Havana. But how can someone make these assertions about a place they've never stepped foot in or even researched? You can't. In fact, my time in Havana couldn't have been more of the opposite. Yes, while I have seen plenty of economic hardship and supply chain shortages imposed by the US embargo many years ago, where even basic necessities like eggs, dairy, and bread are hard to find, I've also felt the unconditional love of the Cuban citizens who bear witness to the resilience of the same hardship. This is an experience that truly opened my eyes to the reality that I cannot reduce a country or its people to its headlines or stereotypes. While reading books and news articles can give me a general bird's eye view of Cuba's economy or political system, only travel and study abroad can capture the on the ground reality. Like the laughter of a Cuban family inviting me to dinner at their home, or the silent dignity of ordinary people like us navigating hardship with resilience. Now, nonetheless, my week in Havana was just the beginning. Now, I'd like to shift gears and take that same spirit of curiosity with me to help introduce new ideas while I study and intern abroad in Sydney, Australia next semester. This is when I'm able to take 3 classes at the University of Sydney and actively engage with my host community by introducing ideas of how my lived immigrant experiences in the US has shaped my values of discipline and sacrifice that makes me who I am now. For instance, through the University of Sydney's Consulting Club, I look forward to participating in their networking events like Consulting Insights Evening, where I would have the opportunity to share my own journey as a Bengali American to be the first in my family to study abroad and pursue higher education in the US. This allows me to proudly introduce my stories of how discipline and sacrifice have shaped me, like when I had to slowly learn English from scratch and defeat the language barrier in the classroom, or work my first summer job as a school kitchen assistant when I was like 16 to help my family make ends meet. In the same way, I'm also willing to hear and listen to the unique stories of Australian students and how their values, on their end, approach professionalism, discipline, and hard work. So, above all else, these are all small gestures I could do to promote cross cultural exchange simply by traveling and studying abroad. I believe that as human beings, we're wired to see the smaller pixels of the bigger picture, but travel and study abroad ultimately helps us step back and see the full image of the world by helping us connect through our differences and sharing our values, storytelling, and empathy that turns us from strangers to family members.